After the humans saved the alien girl, she fell in love with him. Welcome back to SciFi Humanity, where we bring you incredible stories from the far reaches of the galaxy and right here on Earth. Today, we explore an extraordinary tale of love and survival that began on a quiet, cold Alaskan night. Join us as we follow Mike, a former Air Force pilot who discovers a crashed alien spacecraft and saves an enigmatic alien girl. What unfolds next is a heartwarming story of bravery, friendship, and a bond that defies the boundaries of space and time. After the humans saved the alien girl, she fell in love with him. Let's dive in. In the quiet cold of an Alaskan winter night, the sky was suddenly split by a blaze of unnatural light. Mike, now living a quieter life after his Air Force days, was outside his cabin when he witnessed it. A burning object streaked across the heavens, its trail of fire cutting through the stars before it crashed into the frozen forest a few miles away. Without a second thought, Mike grabbed his heavy coat and emergency kit. His instincts as a pilot kicked in. Someone might need help, and he might be the only chance they had. His truck rumbled to life, old but reliable, and he headed towards the crash site, guided by the fiery glow against the night sky. Reaching the vicinity of the crash, Mike parked his truck behind a thick copse of trees and proceeded on foot. The air smelled of burnt metal and ozone, a clear sign that whatever had come down was no ordinary meteorite or satellite. As he approached, he saw the wreckage of what was unmistakably an alien spacecraft embedded in the ice and snow. Carefully, Mike climbed over the twisted metal. The hull of the spacecraft was torn open, exposing a flickering interior lit by panels of alien symbols and dim lights. Inside, he found chaos, wires sparking, and the remnants of what looked like control panels strewn about. Then he heard a faint moaning from beneath a collapsed panel. He moved towards the sound, pushing aside debris, and found an alien girl. Her skin shimmered like the aurora in the sky above, hues shifting subtly. She was clearly injured, struggling to breathe. "Hang on, I'm here to help you," Mike said gently, as if she could understand him. He carefully lifted the panel off her, assessing her injuries. She had a deep gash on her leg and appeared to have multiple bruises, but no injuries seemed immediately life-threatening. Using his emergency kit, he bandaged her leg as best he could and helped her into a sitting position. Her eyes flickered open, glowing softly with a light blue hue, focusing with visible effort on Mike. She spoke in a series of soft, musical tones that were clearly a language, though not one Mike could decipher. "No need to try and talk," Mike said. "I'm going to get you out of here." Understanding or not, she seemed to sense his intent to help, her body relaxing slightly. Mike supported her as they moved slowly back to his truck. He laid her down in the back seat, covering her with blankets to ward off the freezing temperatures. As he drove back to his cabin, Mike's mind raced. He knew he should report this to his former contacts in the military, but something held him back. She was clearly vulnerable and alone. For now, at least until he understood more, he would keep her safe and hidden. Back at his cabin, as he helped her inside and settled her on a makeshift bed, Mike wondered about the repercussions of his decision. Whatever came next, he knew his life had changed forever tonight. He looked at the alien girl, her chest rising and falling evenly now, and felt a resolve strengthen within him. He would protect her, no matter what. Inside the warmth of Mike's cabin, the alien girl gradually regained her strength. The harsh Alaskan winter howled outside, but the sturdy walls kept the cold at bay. Over the next few days, Mike observed her recovery, noting her resilience despite her injuries. He used his old tablet to document her symptoms and recovery, thinking it might help in understanding her biology. The alien girl, in turn, was slowly adapting to her new environment. Her initial wariness gave way to a cautious curiosity about Mike and his world. Despite the language barrier, they began to communicate through gestures and expressions. Mike learned that she could understand some English, though speaking it seemed beyond her capability. One evening, as the aurora borealis danced across the sky, the alien girl pointed at it, then at herself. Mike nodded, realizing she was trying to tell him she was from somewhere in the cosmos where such lights were common. He showed her a map of the galaxy on his computer, and she pointed excitedly to a remote sector, her fingers tracing paths between stars. Her home was clearly far beyond human reach. Realizing the gravity of her situation, Mike knew she needed more than just medical help. She needed to get a message home. He rigged up an old radio transmitter, hoping it might catch some frequency her people used. The alien girl watched intently, her bright eyes analyzing every move he made, occasionally guiding his hands with a gentle touch to make adjustments beyond his understanding. The cabin was filled with the crackle of static as knights passed with them, huddled around the equipment, tweaking and turning dials. Finally, a series of sharp beeps broke through the noise. The alien girl's face lit up with a mix of joy and relief. She quickly responded with a complex series of tones. After a tense wait, the machine crackled back to life, and a voice, melodic and alien, filled the room, speaking in her tongue. The alien girl conversed rapidly, her voice a mix of urgency and excitement. Mike watched, understanding none of the words but feeling the weight of the moment. When the conversation ended, she turned to him, her expression somber. She sketched quick, vivid pictures of her planet, Valoria, and her people caught in what looked like a battle. She pointed to herself, then to the images, making it clear she was a key figure in whatever conflict was unfolding. It dawned on Mike that she was not just an alien. She was a political refugee, perhaps even royalty, on the run from forces that wanted her captured or dead. The responsibility weighed heavily on him, but his decision to help her felt more right than ever. That night, as she slept, Mike sat by the fire, pondering the enormity of what lay ahead. He had ventured into unknown territory, far beyond the scope of any of his previous life's challenges. Yet the resolve in her eyes, her trust in him, fortified his determination to stand by her. Whatever came next, they would face it together. As the alien girl's strength returned, so did her concern for their safety. The news of the alien craft's crash had not gone unnoticed, and it was only a matter of time before curiosity or hostility drew unwanted visitors to Mike's doorstep. They needed to move, and soon. Early one morning, as the first light of dawn crept across the snowy landscape, Mike loaded his truck with supplies. The alien girl, now able to walk with some assistance, followed him closely, her senses sharp to any sign of danger. Mike decided they would head deeper into the wilderness, to an old hunter's cabin he knew about. It was isolated, off the grid, and would offer them a temporary haven. As they drove through the winding forest roads, the alien girl's anxiety was palpable. She kept her eyes fixed on the mirrors, watching for any sign of pursuit. Her fears were not unfounded. A sleek, dark vehicle, out of place in the rugged terrain, appeared behind them. It was clear they were being followed. Mike pushed his old truck as fast as it could go, but it was no match for their pursuers' modern technology. Realizing they couldn't outrun them, he took a sharp turn down a less traveled path, hoping to lose them in the dense forest. The chase intensified, with the pursuer matching every move Mike made. Just as the situation seemed desperate, the alien girl pointed to a narrow pass between two cliffs. It was a risk. The pass was barely wide enough for the truck, but it was their only chance. Mike steered the truck towards the pass, branches scraping the sides of the vehicle as they squeezed through. The pursuer hesitated, giving them a few crucial moments to widen the gap. Emerging from the pass, they found themselves in a secluded area with thick underbrush. Mike drove the truck into a copse of trees, covering it with branches and leaves for camouflage. They continued on foot, the alien girl leading the way with surprising agility given her recent recovery. Hours later, they arrived at the hunter's cabin. It was rustic and bare, but it provided the cover and security they needed. As they settled in, The alien girl explained that the pursuer was likely a bounty hunter from her planet, skilled at tracking and relentless in their pursuit. Her people, the Valoran, were known for their technological prowess, which made evading capture all the more difficult. Mike set up perimeter alarms and traps, not just relying on his military training, but also on the survival skills he had honed over years in the Alaskan wilderness. The alien girl, meanwhile, constructed a rudimentary communication device from parts she salvaged from her ship's wreckage that she had insisted on bringing along. Her plan was to send a distress signal to any Valoran ships that might be in the vicinity of Earth, hoping her allies were out there searching for her. That night, as they watched the cabin's perimeter from the safety of its wooden walls, a new bond formed between them, forged in the crucible of shared danger. They were no longer just a man and an alien. They were comrades, each fighting not just for the alien girl's cause, but for each other's survival. The days following their narrow escape were filled with restless vigilance. Mike and the alien girl had managed to avoid detection, but the threat loomed like a shadow over their fragile sanctuary. As they prepared for what might come next, Mike knew they needed help, more resources and allies. Determined to broaden their defensive capabilities, Mike contacted some old acquaintances from his Air Force days, people who had left the service under mysterious circumstances and were rumored to have encountered non-human technology. If anyone would understand and believe their situation, it would be them. Within a few, as the scout ship descended, its sleek form cutting through the atmosphere with grace and precision, the group's eyes were fixed on the skies, hearts pounding in their chests. Laura stood at the center of the clearing, her shimmering skin reflecting the light from the ship's engines as it approached. The scout ship landed with a gentle thud, its ramp lowering to the ground. A group of Valoran soldiers, clad in their distinctive armor, emerged, weapons at the ready but not raised. Their leader, a tall figure with an air of authority, stepped forward and greeted Ulra with a series of melodic tones. Laura responded in kind, her voice filled with relief and emotion. Mike, Jack, and Sophia watched the exchange, understanding the significance of the moment. Laura turned to them, her eyes conveying gratitude and a sense of farewell. She approached Mike, placing her hand on his shoulder, and spoke a few words in her language. Though he couldn't understand them, the sentiment was clear. "Take care," Mike said, his voice choked with emotion. "We'll be rooting for you." Laura nodded, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. She then turned and joined her people, ascending the ramp into the scout ship. The soldiers followed, and the ramp began to close. As the ship prepared for takeoff, Mike, Jack, and Sophia retreated to a safe distance, watching as the engines roared to life. The scout ship lifted off, ascending rapidly into the sky. Within moments, it was gone, leaving only the faintest trace of its passage. The group stood in silence, the weight of the moment settling over them. They had helped Laura escape, but their journey was far from over. The threat from her enemies remained, and they knew they had to stay vigilant. In the days that followed, Mike and his comrades dismantled their makeshift base and returned to their lives, forever changed by their encounter with Laura. They maintained a low profile, aware that the bounty hunters' employers might still be searching for them. Months passed, and life gradually returned to a semblance of normalcy. Mike often thought of Laura, wondering how she was faring and if she had managed to reclaim her rightful place on Valoria. He hoped that one day he might hear from her again, but for now, he took solace in the knowledge that he had done the right thing. One evening, as Mike sat by the fire in his cabin, a familiar hum filled the air. He looked up, heart pounding, as a small, sleek vessel descended from the sky and landed gently outside his cabin. The ramp lowered, and to his astonishment, Laura emerged, her eyes filled with warmth and gratitude. "Mike," she said, her voice now fluent in English, "I couldn't stay away. I wanted to thank you personally for all that you've done." Mike's heart swelled with emotion as he stepped forward, embracing his friend. "Laura," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm glad you're here." As they stood together, reunited against the backdrop of the Alaskan wilderness, Mike knew that their bond was unbreakable. They had faced incredible odds together and emerged stronger for it. And though the future remained uncertain, one thing was clear: their story was far from over. The stars above twinkled brightly, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the incredible journey they had embarked upon. As they sat by the fire, sharing stories and laughter, Mike realized that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures begin with a single unexpected encounter. And in the quiet cold of an Alaskan winter night, he found solace in the knowledge that he and Leroux would face whatever came next, side by side. And so, against the backdrop of the Alaskan wilderness, an unbreakable bond was formed between a human and an alien. Their journey from rescue to love showed us that compassion and courage transcend all barriers. Mike and Leroux's story reminds us that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures begin with a single unexpected encounter. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with more captivating tales from the frontier of science fiction. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on Mike and Leroux's incredible bond and any other stories you'd like us to explore. Until next time, SciFi Humanity, signing off. Stay curious, stay adventurous,